Hello and welcome back to my Spelunky Daily challenge videos. What I've done is I've put something in my mouth before starting this, which is not wise. But there's nothing we can do about that now. You know, we just have to work through that situation. This is today's table. As you can see, people have got score. I haven't got a score yet because I haven't done it. I've nearly run out of data recording. Yesterday, apparently I did rather well. It's still in my mouth. No one did all that great, which suggests that everybody had a unique problem of some sort. Mr. Matthew Cox has called me out in a recent video of his where he's highlighted some of the ways that he plays and the theories he has for doing well, and how he repeatedly beats me as he does do. Although I think he struggled a bit today, judging from what I've already seen on the internet. So the important thing really is to come above him. So let's do that now. I'm really sorry, I'm still eating. It's a really chewy sweet. I hope you can't hear me chewing. It's not a good start to a video. Today's topic for today's video of Spelunky Daily video topicking. I'll wait till you see what I'm drinking. It's just like being at my house, really, isn't it? You get to see me doing, or you get to hear me doing all the things that I would do in the safety of my room, which seems to mostly be making noises. Today's topic is, well, it's sort of nuclear fiction, but it's not really. It's more how nuclear war is represented. Can't whip through the wall in this version of Spelunky. It's how nuclear war is represented in some films and TV series, which I think is an amazing topic. But I would think that because I always pick topics that I know about. I always know about them because, ooh, that was close, because I'm interested in them. And ever since I was a kid, I don't remember where it came from. I grew up in the 80s, I should add. I was born in 1980, and it was certainly an interesting time to be born. In the year that I was born, in fact, about a month after I was born, the Iranian embassy was sieged in London and then was raided by the SAS, and no one had really seen the SAS ever do anything before, and suddenly they did, and they did it on TV in front of everyone. And that was before the time when we had 24-hour news and the internet to let us watch stuff live. That was a big deal. But that happened, then the Falklands War happened, and there were some major... Cold War was still going on. People were still talking about the Star Wars program to shoot down nuclear missiles in space, I think. And we're also talking about not going to risk angering a shopkeeper just yet. We're also still talking about nuclear war sometimes, and the possibility of it. And Reagan was still alive and very much massively anti-USSR, or at least publicly anyway. And there were big exercises. There were still big Cold War exercises where enormous collections of armed forces would go and do stuff. So that was the environment that I was a kid in, and I was kind of aware of it. I was aware of what was happening. I didn't understand all of it, or wasn't aware of the depth of all of it. But it was around, and it was, you know, in the news a lot. And I don't remember when the fascination began, but sometime in the late 80s or early 90s, I became increasingly aware of what nuclear weapons were, and increasingly amazed by the concept of them and the power of them and what they did. I don't know whether to go up here or not. Let's do it. Let's do it for the scores. See what we can find. But they weren't always represented that much in a lot of stuff I saw, or they weren't talked about as much as I would have thought they would be, which in some contexts makes sense. When I was about 5 years old in 1985, there was a programme shown on British TV that hadn't been shown for a long time. It hadn't been shown for about 20 years, and it was called The War Game, and I wasn't allowed to watch it because I was 5 years old. I didn't really know what it was about or understand. But The War Game was a documentary film that had been made in the mid-1960s, I think 1965, by a guy called Peter Watkins, who made a series of, or at least a couple of, I think, very interesting pseudo-documentaries that were sort of documentaries with fictitious elements dropped in. A really interesting one is Culloden, which is a documentary about the Battle of Culloden, which is the last battle on British soil, I think, in the 1700s, when I think it was Jacobite Scots fought the English in one of the conflicts that England and Scotland had. And I think there'd been some successes in the campaign for the Scots, but Culloden was a terrible defeat for the Scots, and it was a terribly managed battle, and it was quite nasty and vicious. And the Culloden documentary is a mixture of a sort of a historical reenactment of what would happen, and occasionally it just interviews the characters who are there as if they're being interviewed for a TV programme. And it's really unpleasant. It's not at all visually violent, but you simply have descriptions of what's going on narrated that are horrible. At one point they're just talking about the different weapons they use and the sort of damage they do to people, and the person providing a commentary talks about grape shot rounds and what they do to a person when they hit them. And it's all just text, and it's horrible. But Watkins, this is what Watkins did. He made documentaries that were quite unflinching. And The War Game is an unflinching documentary about what happens when Britain is attacked by nuclear weapons. And because of the size of Britain and the density of targets, in the Cold War it was going to be hit by more nuclear weapons, I think, per square mile, per square anything, than anywhere else, and it would be hit very quickly because the proximity to... See, I thought I picked up the knife. I wasn't paying the knife, the key. This is Freudian. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. But what we can do is sacrifice this guy to get, you know, points for the god of bad. The War Game is similarly unflinching, and it starts with a load of just horrible statistics for, like, this is how quickly nuclear weapons would reach us, this is how much warning you'd have. And then it depicts what would happen, and I think an airburst happens in one particular place, and again, without really any gore, you just get descriptions of things like, well, this is the initial sort of, there's a blast wave, there's a firestorm, this is the initial heat of the weapon. If you're looking at it, it'll melt your eyeballs, which it just sort of unflinchingly says, and then you get to see an air raid warden suffering having that happen to them. You don't see any detail, you just see someone having a bad day. I think it was shown in limited cinemas, it was on limited release in the 60s. And then it was won, I think, an Oscar for Best Documentary. Then it was never shown again, because you couldn't show it, because all the facts about what would happen when nuclear weapons strike a place were awful. And it's not simply the damage, it's the long-term consequences of, well, you know, this much soil is irradiated, so you can't get this much food anymore, and this much water is now undrinkable, and the economy has collapsed in these ways. Oh, can't play the game really, can I? Oh, I forgot there's a spider there. Oh no! Oh, it's all happening. Oh, better. Oh dear. Oh no! Oh dear. Oh, the head survived. That's all that matters. Although there is a spider. Hopefully it'll fall down the hole. It's not going to fall down the hole. It's just going to come at me. So nuclear war is a thing. But yeah, the war game wasn't that fictional, I suppose. I mean, I'm saying about film representations of nuclear wars and strikes and attacks and things. But the disturbing thing about it was how factual it was and how many of the comments were based on things said by, when I say experts, I mean people in the army, about what their, you know, what their tactics were, what their policies were. Oh, I hate these guys because they're stupid. Okay, I don't know where he's gone. I wonder if... No, okay. Is he going to come back? A lot of this game is just waiting for stuff. Because if he sits down there, he's fairly sort of vulnerable to stuff happening. Oh, I'm out of here. Bye. Yep, yeah, I knew there was a spider. I knew that. Disaster. But yeah, the censorship of the war game was largely because it was just unwatchably horrible truths that couldn't be digested by people, according to, I think, the BBC, who commissioned it or owned it, possibly. They just said, yeah, we can't have this. Oh, that was a wonderful stroke of luck. And those bombs will be helpful. And okay, I think we're okay now, except for the fact that I'm horribly injured. But apart from that, we're fine. That level was just awful. The war game's around now, and you can buy it on DVD, and it's quite nasty to watch, and you can understand why a lot of people didn't want to expose the public to it, because it just tells you that if a nuclear strike happens, there's nothing you can do about it, and you're going to get really ill, and everything will... Society will stop functioning because of a lack of food and supplies and medical treatment and everything like that. So that's nice. Another show, TV show, that also tells exactly the same story and couldn't be reshown, but tells it in more detail, was Threads, which came out in, I think, 1984 or the early 80s, and I think it was shown on Channel 4 in the UK for a while, and then just never shown again. Threads is like the war game, but just there's more of it. And what happens is Sheffield is hit by a nuclear strike, and you follow the lives of various people in Sheffield as they run out of food and can't go to hospitals and can't get any medical treatment. And it's sort of peppered by statistics from a bunch of different people, like scientists and economists and things, about like, well, this is things like, this is the process of how you bury a body in the UK, and this is how many people will be dead, this is how many bodies you will be able to bury, and this is or this is how much diesel there actually is in the country, and this is how long it'll last for, and this is how we will be able to get more, but we won't be able to get any more because, so we won't be able to farm anymore, because farming is based largely on having fuel to operate farming machinery, so farming won't happen anymore. I hate these guys. I basically hate everything. I'm a massively intolerant human being, I'll be quite honest with you. Oh dear, I don't even know what happened there. I genuinely have no concept of... I thought I'd landed on its head, because it's dead. View leaderboard. And the thing is, still in the top 1000, because I bet lots of people have struggled with some of those levels. Bet they have. The most important thing, of course, is I'm above all my friends, so, you know, that's good. But yeah, definitely watch the war game and Threads to see that the problem with nuclear war isn't destruction, but what's left afterwards, and the collateral damage and radiation and how if you build a society in a certain way or build an economy in a certain way, a nuclear weapon destroys that, which is far more lasting. And anything else I can recommend? Because there's just two. I was going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Failsafe is really interesting. Made in the 60s. It's the serious version of Dr. Strangelove, and it's better. But the thing is, you're just watching me now. You know, I can't, because the rules are that we're done, so I'm done. So I kind of awkwardly have to sign off. I'm drinking gin and tonic from a can. And I don't want you to think, I can't drink much. I've never been much of a drinker, but it seems to happen for these videos. It's a bit bitter. And I don't really know, it's taken off, but it's like, the point of gin and tonic is you mix it according to a ratio that you like. It's just a thing made for me, and it's just a bit bitter. I never know how to say goodbye. I get really anxious trying to... It's just hard. Bye!